Wow, first week of October already. And of course, we go into a new theme, and our new theme is actually, I borrowed from Maria's inspirational, loving reading, which is Love Dissolves All Fear. So that will be our theme for the month. And the reason why I picked that, of course, what is October? Yes, all right, yes. So Halloween is, of course, the usual spooky and things, and I thought, ooh, what's the best thing to really talk about? Fear. All those scary things that, the things that go bump in the night. And so that's what we're going to talk about. So we're going to get our fear on this month, and we're going to get rid of it too. So I just want to take just a few minutes and say thank you to Jeff for his beautiful, beautiful speech, last sermon or talk, whatever we call this. And I just want to say thank you for blessing all of us with your presence. Thank you. And Reverend Janice for being here this morning to facilitate my installation. Officially, I'm yours. Thank you. So that, and also not to forget all of those that have worked very hard this morning and beyond that to set up everything that's in the courtyard and everything that has been the magic that has been created for this symbolic occasion, which is an installation of your minister. So thank you. I just want to say thank you to all of you. So last week, I wasn't here. Yeah, I wasn't there or here. And so what Charles and I decided to do is escape. And what we escaped to was Colorado, because we wanted to see the color. And we found this wonderful little place called, what was it called? Preacher's Gulch. Yes, of course, Preacher's Gulch. And it's this amazing little place where you can actually park your RV or make a tent, and it's right on the river's edge. And so you wake up in the morning or go to sleep with this beautiful river just running. It's just amazing. And so what happened is, of course, in the morning, my spiritual practice is I'm the morning person in the family. And I get up early, and I was able to see, of course, the sunrise. And I was also able to experience all the sounds and all the wonderful things that happen in that part of the world to greet the day. And one of the wonderful things that I love to do in the morning is meditate. So I had that opportunity to spread my blanket and sit by the water's edge and just allow myself to just, breathe it all in. Well, the funny thing about nature is things just happen. And so the night before we had driven in, and it was dusk, and we had seen, the colors are starting to change. Well, in the morning after I did my meditation, I opened my eyes, and it was like God said, okay, let's quickly paint this. And it was all gold. And there were some spots of red and spots of brown. And I thought, wow, how easy it is for trees to just decide, yeah, let's change. Let's go from green to yellow, and then eventually we'll go to red and brown, and then, okay, then we'll let go. We'll let go of all of this and go dormant for a few months, and then eventually we know that we'll be all alive in the spring again. So we're just going to take a nap for a while. And so I was looking at that and thinking, why is it that as humans, we can't do that? Why, we go through life and challenges and different things, and we process. And yes, we turn from, green is go, to where we kind of go, oh, well, maybe we better wait. We get into that golden age. And then we go to the red, like, okay, stop. I can't go any further, right? I can't go any further than this because I don't know what's going to happen over there. I don't know what's going to happen on the other side. And then, of course, then we just go brown, and then we drop our leaves, and we just go into this victimhood. Oh, my gosh. All of this stuff is happening to me. Why is it happening to me? And then we sometimes just say, okay, I can't do this, so I am just going to play dead. I'm just going to go dormant for a while, and everything's going to be okay. The reason why we often do that is because we are paralyzed of what is going to happen next. We have this thing called fear. And what happens is we say, well, if I proceed, I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm right here, right now. I'm safe where I'm at. And that's a good thing. Really? Really? Ernest Holmes said, fear blocks the more complete givingness of the spirit to its highest form of manifestation on this planet, which is humankind. Fear arises from that mental attitude which limits the possibility and the willingness of the Spirit to give us the good we so greatly desire. There is nothing wrong with the desire for self-expression. God is more completely expressed through the human who lives largely than through the one who lives meagerly. And I'm going to translate that word meagerly into small. Y'all need to play big. That's how we need to play, is big. What happens when we play small? Right, it's just, nothing happens. We become stagnant. There isn't any energy, but oh yes, we've given that fear lots of energy. And fear, well, it's got a history. It's pretty much been around since we all have. And we have done very well with it. We have created fear through violence. We've created through selfishness and greed, and lately a whole lot of politics. Right? So we're in this fear mode. And what we're doing is we're feeding it. And we're feeding it because we're giving it energy, because we allow it in. We allow it to govern us. It allows me, or us, there we go, how we go, to be small. To not be able to go anywhere at all. Hey, that vibes. We become actually powerless. And I'm sure that most of us know what it's like to feel like we have no choice, no power, that we're just this is going to happen to us and we're just going to let it happen. No, that's not an option. Julian McLaren said, fear is the ultimate motivator. When it's acted upon, fear can paralyze you, but the same fear can propel you to your highest potential. Most of us look at fear as an acronym. It says, forget everything and run. And we do. We run. And unfortunately, what we do is we run into the danger. What we do is we are running towards what is roaring at us. And that's not always a good thing. Because what happens is when we run away, or we run away from it and we think, you know what, I'm just going to leave it behind. Oh, it will follow you. It has no problem following you at all. So what would be the option? Maybe to go toe-to-toe with it. Maybe to look it right in the face and say, you don't scare me. How often do we do that? We don't. We'd rather do this. Because then it can't find us. We've just kind of disappeared. You know, in the animal kingdom, what happens is the lions, and I'll just use the lions as an example. What happens is when they get hungry, they have a plan. What they do is they send the lioness out into the tall grasses. And then they just kind of mosey on by, and they see the animals drinking at the pond or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, they'll just kind of like, okay. And then they let out this huge roar. Of course, scares everybody to death. And everybody runs. Well, where do they run to? right to the lionesses. And sometimes that's what we do. We run right into what is not necessarily good for us. We run in the opposite direction. So I want to ask you some questions. What would it look like if you were to stand and face it? Okay, so here's a few things. Maybe we could do some inner work. Oh, you think? Maybe we could do that, such as identify your fears. Maybe we could start a journal and say, okay, this is what I experienced today. It wasn't really fun, it wasn't really good, and this is how I felt. And journal about it. Let yourself free, let yourself go. Make a list of your fears and strategize how to address each one. Be prepared. So you look at what just happened and you say, oh, well, guess what? That's on my list. This is how I attacked it last time. Maybe I can do it differently this time. Prepare for a variety of situations so that you can respond calmly and effectively. Learn from our experiences. So when we've had fear or something in our life that's not comfortable, look at how we've passed in our past, how we have reacted to it. And then say, you know what? I could have done that better. And journal about it. Or talk to yourself about it. How can I do that better? Then, after you've done all that, after a struggle, evaluate the situation and your response so you can learn from your successes and failures. Now remember, failure is just another term for first attempt at learning. And that's what we do. We don't fail. We just learn. And we begin again. So what we do is now we find the focus and we find love at the same time. We find what it is that's true about us. We know that the divine is within us, and that divine source of all that is loves us. Many of us will, and including me, at times will say, oh, I'm just, it's not there. Oh, well, I'm so wrong, because it's like Velcro. It's always with us. But yet, in the mind, I can go there and say, no, it's not. But yet, it's right there saying, here's a safety net. Fall. And I will catch you. And then I will allow you to look at what's really going on in your life. And so all that pent-up unknown, all that pent-up fear, we go, oh, well, that's what it is. That's what it's looking like. And so all of a sudden we realize, oh my gosh, I know this. And I can take back my power. So I take back my power. And I say, yes, I can do this, and I can do it better. And allow that fear of whatever it is to dissipate. Dennis Merritt Jones said, wisdom says that the better we understand something, the more logically we will be able to deal with it. We might best understand the anatomy of fear by first dissecting it and seeing it for what it is and what it is not. Here's a new acronym for fear. Face everything and rethink. So what happens is instead of running away from it, we sit in our seat and we allow ourselves to rethink it, to really look at, why am I reacting so violently to this? Or why am I just reacting to this? What am I afraid of? When we look at fear, it's really a hypothesis because it's an unknown factor. But yet we greet it with anger and worry and judgment and selfishness and shame, loneliness, and definitely uncertainty. And we don't need to do that. When we look at fear, we can look at a whole genealogy of emotions. Those are just a few that I've named. We all know what it's like to be in relationship with fear. Is it a good one? No, I don't think so. I'll pass. I'll date something else. But with fear, we also have to look at the perception and the perspective. Our perception, or actually it's perspective first, we look at the enormity of it. What position, what mindset, how do we interpret it? Then, once we say, oh, this is what it is, then we can have a new perception of it and be mindful. And we can shift it and we can change it. Fear, believe it or not, is part of our destiny and our future. Because what it does is it pulls attention to something that we actually need to see about ourselves or whatever the situation is. So it's actually our friend. But we react as if we just want to push it away. So my question is, what can we learn from fear? I just happen to have an answer or two. How can we learn to use fear as a springboard to transcend its crippling energy rather than mindlessly pushing us against it or running from it, ultimately giving it more power over us? Fear is no energy other than that we give it or fuel it. That's what it is. The more energy, the more mental coin that we spend on it, we're just lighting it up. And we stay there. Why? Why do we want to stay in a set mind of, I can't do anything, when actually you can? Where does fear originate? In the mind. And unfortunately, fear usually is connected with loss. It's all about what we have lost, what we could lose, what we will lose. It's all of that and so much more. When really, as I said, fear is energized as much as you give it. And instead of saying those, it works for me, you can say, well, no, I actually think it works against me. So what can I fill that with? I can feel that consciousness with love, knowing that the divine spirit which works through me as me and is always for me. There is no need for fear, because where fear is, there's love. And I know a whole part of this country that needs a whole bunch of love right now. As we acknowledge Florida and the East Coast as what they are going through. And that what I know for them is that they are being helped. There's no fear, in that where there's fear, there's love. There's fear for every single individual. And now that Milton has decided to move in again, we're going to know that Milton is just going to breeze on by. That these people don't need that. And as a collective consciousness, we can do that. We can move mountains, we can move air. So what I know is that for those beautiful communities in Florida, that we are moving all of that power away from them so that they can start and begin and continue to rebuild. Joseph Campbell said that God is a metaphor for that which transcends all levels of intellectual thought. It's as simple as that. God is right where we are. God is here in our mind. Spirit, mind, body. That's what we are. In our connection to spirit, there is something always bigger. There's always something bigger than fear. And when we approach it through our heart, everything that we're afraid of goes away. Because what happens is then we are able to trust. And when we trust, we are giving it over to the Spirit to whatever is going on. Because we've said, here, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to handle it. And Spirit goes, I know how, and I know we'll do it together. Because it is in and through all of us. So if there's something that's going on in your life right now, please just turn to Spirit and say, you know, I don't know what to do. And I know that what will be told is a story of love, and I know that that love is going to, as we say, fix everything. And that's not being codependent. We always remain teachable. Everything for us is a teachable moment. We don't have to look at it as, well, this did this to me. Instead, turn it around and say, what am I to know about this? What is it for me to know about this situation that has caused me such angst? And actually, there's some times where there's things that happen to me and I've said, oh, okay, and I start laughing because it's not really that bad. It's my perception of it. But when I look through a different lens and say, this is really what it is, then it's all better. So in 2 Timothy 1:7, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of a power and of a love and of a sound mind. We know this to be true. Namaste. I love you, and amen.